Hey everyone, वेलकम टू माय चैनल फीलियर जितेश। मैं आज आप लोगों के लिए पॉलिटी के लेक्चर्स बहुत ही एक फेमस कोचिंग के अपलोड कर रहा हूँ। प्लीज़ कोई स्ट्राइक कोई कंप्लेन मत कीजिएगा, ये सिर्फ उन लोगों के लिए हैं जो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते हैं। मैं पहले ही माफ़ी मांग रहा हूँ, बाद में आप लोग ये मत कहिएगा कि आप चोरी कर रहे हो, ऐसा कर रहे हो, वैसा कर रहे हो। देखिए, मेरे को भी कहीं से मिले तो मुझे लगा कि उन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए डाल दिए जाएँ, लाइक जो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते। मैं भी उनमें से ही हूँ एक। मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप लोग इसका भरपूर इस्तेमाल करें, अच्छे से पढ़ें। दीज आर दी बेस्ट लेक्चर्स एंड मैं भी इससे पढ़ रहा हूँ, आप लोग भी इससे पढ़ो। एंड कोशिश करूँगा जल्द से जल्द सारे लेक्चर्स डाल दूँ। तो प्लीज़ अच्छे से पढ़िए। अब सही समय है सही से तैयारी करने का, तो अच्छे से तैयारी करिए। चलिए, आई होप यू विल लव दी लेक्चर्स। प्लीज़ लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब माई चैनल।
Humility, you all know, very important during preparation and after also. Any problem till now? Are you comfortable with polity? वो तो है ही. Who got the maximum marks in the mains test? अभी आपको मिले? बहुत बढ़िया. How much? 34 out of 100. This is a good score. Considering the liberty of the marks, I mean the marking which they have, 34 is a good score. Others also should maintain this. ठीक है? See his face. और एक फोटो लगा लो. In the next test, I will beat him. But then don't have this kind of spirit also. It was only in a lighter sense I said so. Beat yourself every time. If this time you score 20, next time you should get 22, then 32, 42. Do not score more than 100. वरना इंक्वायरी कमेटी बिठा देंगे. ठीक है सर? Keep improving. यही टाइम है आप improve कर सकते हो. And for you it's a it's a boon that you are having test series along with your preparation. Otherwise, in most of the institute, what is happening? First you cover the course, then you look for test series. You pay more, time is gone and confidence is lost. Many times we don't feel like going for test series. छोड़ो यार, थक गए हैं, अब कौन test series करेगा? ये time सही है. Knowing one thing and putting it on paper is other thing. Test series बहुत important है. Take it very very seriously and try to score. Have a kind of healthy competition. ठीक है सर? Healthy is जरूरी है. सवाल ये है, द क्वेश्चन इज दिस, प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया, इज दिस ऑफिस रियली पावरफुल ऑफिस और इट इज ओनली अ ऑफिस ऑफ शो पीस है? बताओ सर, यू वांट टू बिकम द प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया और द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया? बोलो, शर्माने की जरूरत नहीं, बताओ. प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया. क्यों? पीएम, व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम विद द पीएम? Sometimes president has more powers than PM. जैसे कि कम, when? When will president have more powers than PM? No problem. If you want to become president, I will not stop you. But then please tell me, in what circumstances president is having more powers than PM? सवाल ये है. कोई टेंशन नहीं है, बताओ जो मन करे बोलो. मैंने सवाल ये किया कि अंडर व्हाट सर्कमस्टांसेस प्रेसिडेंट इज हैविंग मोर पावर देन पीएम. क्वेश्चन ये है, बोलो. ड्यूरिंग नेशनल इमरजेंसी इज प्रेसिडेंट मोर पावरफुल देन पीएम? बोलो. व्हेन ही इज मोर पावरफुल देन पीएम? If he is using his discretionary powers, जैसे कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल भाई जब मेजोरिटी नहीं है. हाँ, पहले एक बात करो बेसिक जो आपने लास्ट टाइम पढ़ा था. एंड इफ द गवर्नमेंट इज स्टेबल, विल नॉट प्रेसिडेंट मोर पावरफुल देन पीएम? व्हेन? Very good. अरे did I not tell you about something called as veto? Last time बताया था ना मैंने आपको veto के बारे में. Veto, for example, एक veto का नाम बताओ. Absolute veto. Absolute veto is exercised by president on his own or not? Absolute veto प्रेसिडेंट साहब अपने आप यूज करते हैं कि नहीं करते हैं सर? बताओ. सब साफ बताओ, आप बताओ. नो. वेरी गुड. प्रेसिडेंट यूजेस एब्सोल्यूट वीटो ऑन द एडवाइस ऑफ काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर. आई गेव यू एग्जांपल आल्सो. फॉर एग्जांपल, व्हेन द प्राइम मिनिस्टर डाइड, न्यू पीएम केम एंड ही डिड नॉट वांट अ प्रीवियस बिल व्हिच वाज पास्ड बाय द पार्लियामेंट टू बी कैरिड ऑन एज अ लॉ. तो प्रेसिडेंट को बोलेगा सर डू नॉट गिव एक्सेंट, रिजेक्ट इट. एब्सोल्यूट वीटो लग गया. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, अदर वीटो एग्जांपल, सस्पेंसिव वीटो, वेयर द प्रेसिडेंट कैन सेंड बैक अ बिल फॉर रिकंसिडरेशन. वॉज इट एवर डन? विच केस? ऑफिस ऑफ प्रॉफिट बिल. थर्ड वीटो, pocket bill. Pocket bill ever used? By whom? Jail Singh. But not everybody is knowing. ये बहुत गलत चीज है. This was something where we ended. Now when you are coming with for the class, I see for half an hour people are sitting here. अरे at least go through the pages. Let me tell you, it is civil services exam, UPSC. Every minute will count. बाद में अभी आपको पता नहीं है ना. यू वंस यू गेट थ्रू द सिस्टम यू विल अंडरस्टैंड दिस. द डे इट विल बी योर एग्जाम, लेट मी टेल यू, दिस इज द रियलिटी. पीपल विल सेव एवरी मिनट दैट डे. तब ब्रश करते हुए भी किताब हाथ में होगी. एंड हेयर वी आर स्पेंडिंग टाइम लाइक एनीथिंग. ऐसा मत करो, हर चीज अभी रट लो सर. इफ वन पर्सन कैन स्कोर दिस मच, वाई कैन नॉट अदर्स? आर यू बाई एनी मीन्स हैविंग लोअर मेंटल फैकल्टीज? आप भी तो उतने इंटेलिजेंट हो एज अदर पर्सन इज. ठीक है. व्हाट आई मीन टू से इज दैट ही वाज राइट. समटाइम्स प्रेसिडेंट इज इवन अपीयर टू बी मोर पावरफुल देन द प्राइम मिनिस्टर, एंड दैट हैपेंस व्हेन ही यूजेस वीटो. एंड वीटो भी एब्सोल्यूट वीटो नहीं, सस्पेंसिव और पॉकेट वीटो. और फॉर एग्जाम्पल, गवर्नमेंट सेड टू द प्रेसिडेंट सर इम्पोज प्रेसिडेंट रूल. Government recommended president rule in particular state. Is president bound to accept the president rule? Can he send it for reconsideration? Yes. Okay sir, वो सस्पेंसिव वीटो नहीं है, but then he can still send it back for reconsideration. उसके लिए आप लोग लिख लो, you write this first. See, this is the debate which I am going to take up using some facts. I will justify both the points. How is he just an office of showpiece, and how he is also an office of authority. दोनों बातें बताऊंगा आपको. ओके, प्लीज फर्स्ट राइट डाउन आर्टिकल 74. ये क्या चीज है? किस चिड़िया का नाम है? बहुत बढ़िया. Article 74 says there shall be a council of minister for what? To aid and advise the president in discharge of executive functions. President साहब क्या करें क्या ना करें ये कौन उनको बताएगा? Council of Minister under Article 74. Now this was the original Article 74. Write down this Article 74 in original form. In original form. शुरू में ऐसे था ये. Article 74 in original form read about. वो क्या बोलता था? Article 74 in original form read about a council of minister headed by the Prime Minister to aid and advise the President Did it say that President was bound? कहीं लिखा है? नहीं लिखा है. इसको भी लिख लो. Write down. It did not explicitly state. It मतलब Article 74. It did not explicitly state whether the President was bound. Whether the President was bound by this advice or not. ये तो कहीं लिखा नहीं था. अब देखो next line. However, under conventions, however, under conventions, you know what is the meaning of convention? Convention क्या है? Yes, convention is a kind of practice or a tradition. छोटा सा example. Any example? सप्त? हाँ, सात फेरे. Or you can have used the example of this class. When the teacher comes, it is just generally a convention or not that students will say good afternoon. Though we also have another convention where the teacher says good afternoon. है कि नहीं है? Tradition है. We follow certain practices which are called as convention, which are not mentioned as rule. वो rule लिखा नहीं है कहीं पे भी, मगर हम कर रहे हैं इसलिए convention है. Okay. Now, nowhere it was written initially that President should follow the advice given to him by the Council of Minister. However, since we have had a practice where whatever the Council of Ministers said, President followed that, we had been following that practice only. Sometimes it was questioned also. For example, let me tell you, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, in 1959, the Nehru government, COM, they told him, sir, please sign on the emergency in Kerala. Kerala में emergency लगानी है, sign करो. He said, am I bound to sign on it? Mr. Nehru said, let me see the constitution. He did not find it there. Then Rajendra Prasad said, then tell me, why should I sign? There is no need to put Kerala on emergency. But then on one side there was government who was asking to put emergency in Kerala. On other side it was the president who said there was no need to put emergency. अब एक deadlock हो गया ना. People were seeing this was as a fight. Between whom? Between the government and the president. But then see, that time the people, the leaders of this country, they were very conscious about the image of polity in front of people, and to break this deadlock, Rajendra Prasad signed on the emergency. But initially he said, एक क्वेश्चन तो कर ही दिया ना उन्होंने. तो government later on they realized that we should write it explicitly that if we tell you to do something, you will be bound to do that. And this was done when? This was done in 42nd Amendment Act 1976, where government said, now sir, you are bound. Whatever we will say, you will have to do. Write down. However, under the conventions established in England and by judicial instructions मतलब judgments, and by judicial instructions, it was held that president was bound to accept the advice of COM. Later, बाद में, later 42nd Amendment Act 1976 amended Article 74 and explicitly bound the president to accept or to have the advice of COM, bound the president to have the advice of COM, though by 42nd Amendment Act 1978, 44th Amendment Act 1978, though by 44th Amendment Act 1978, what was done? Reconsideration. देखो 42nd Amendment Act said what? If you are working as a president, you have to work according to aid and advice of COM. आप खुद कुछ नहीं करोगे. Okay. Then 44th Amendment Act relaxed the provision क्योंकि president should not be bound like a kid. He should have some authority or not. So 44th Amendment Act 1978 said, sir, while you work, you must have the aid and advice of the COM. ये तो ले लोगे आप. However, if you feel that they should reconsider the advice, you can send it back for reconsideration. आप एक बार उनको पुनर्विचार करने के लिए बोल सकते हो. Okay, means you can send back the aid and advice of the COM for reconsideration once. And if after reconsideration also the COM advises the same thing to the president or amendment to the advice, now president will be bound to accept it. समझ लो सर, ये कब आया? 44th Amendment Act, and now it is continuing till now. Write down. 44th Amendment Act stated that president may require the COM to reconsider such advice generally or otherwise. Generally or otherwise. Otherwise means through some committee or through some machinery. Generally or otherwise. However, president shall act in accordance with such an advice coming to him after such a reconsideration. Now see, my argument was this: is the president powerful office or is he only a ceremonial office? वो दिखावे का ऑफिस है या पावर ही है उसके पास में? Now we'll see this thing from the perspective of various arrangements, like now to understand this we will take help of various सर यू हैव रेड द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तो पढ़ के आए हो ना, बताओ, सिंस यू हैव रेड द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन टेल मी various provisions of the constitution, is it pointing to the fact that Indian president is powerful or is it a rubber stamp? क्या लगता है आपको? बहुत लगते हैं, तो बताओ what are the areas which make president really powerful? On which are the provisions which make him a rubber stamp? रबर स्टैम्प समझते हो? सेरेमनी, उसका काम सिर्फ ठप्पा लगाना है. His work is only to put a stamp on whatever has been done by the government. बताओ सर, पावरफुल है कि रबर स्टैम्प है? Which provision of the constitution tells you that he is actually a powerful office? आर्टिकल 78. ठीक है, हाँ जी, क्या है आर्टिकल 78? प्राइम मिनिस्टर शुड बी informed. Whatever is going on in government, president has the right to know and he will call the prime minister. बताओ साहब चल क्या रहा है? I want to know. ठीक है. Any other provision by which you can say that this office is actually powerful office? Huh? 85. What is 85, sir? To call the session. आर्टिकल 85 तो पता है ना आपको? क्या है सर, बताना. आर्टिकल 85, आर्टिकल 85 says the gap between the two sessions should not be more than 6 months, and government will tell the president when to call the session of the parliament. But if the government fails to tell the president, sir, you have to call the parliament, and in that process 6 months passes, then president on his own can also call the session. अगर सरकार उसको नहीं भी बोलती कि आप सेशन बुलाओ, and he is seeing that 6 months are about to pass, he himself can call upon the session of the house. ये तो powerful है ही position. Any other provision by which you can say that he is powerful? But that is done on the advice of COM. COM के कहने पे करता है ना वो. 78C, what is it? बहुत बढ़िया. If there is no regular government and there is only a caretaker government, ये बताया था मैंने आपको. If there is only a caretaker government, regular government नहीं है, then what functions will be performed by the government will be decided by the president. वो caretaker government क्या काम करे और क्या ना करे, ये कौन decide करेगा? President. Means he is having influence. Any other provision by which you can say or prove that constitution expected him to be powerful? अगर आपको आर्टिकल याद नहीं भी है, नो प्रॉब्लम. हाँ जी बताएं. Summoning joint sitting, ठीक है, but that is also done not by on his own, on the advice of COM. Veto, यार ordinance is also passed by him on the advice of COM. अपने आप नहीं करता है. पावरफुल तो तब हुआ ना when he can use his discretion. वीटो है कि नहीं है? Can he not use veto on his own? अरे see, you want to pass a bill, I use pocket veto. मेरी पॉकेट में बहुत ताकत है. The pocket of president is very big. Once a bill is put inside, it cannot be found unless it is the president who will take it out. समझ रहे हो? Pocket veto is a very big instrument. Any other way by which you can feel that he is actually a very important provision on office? बड़ी बात बोलो गौरव जी, बड़ी चीज. फर्स्ट सिटीजन तो है, ठीक है. ये बोलो ना, why don't you see the basics first? When there is no party which is getting majority, will you not lose democracy? आपने वोटिंग करी किसी पार्टी को तो मेजॉरिटी मिली नहीं. How will you get the government? In that case, president will call a party or a person from a party that you come and you form the government. Is he not using the discretion? Elections took place, no party got majority. Are you not still expected to have a prime minister? और वो prime minister कहाँ से आएगा? President will call a person that, sir, you look like a future prime minister. You come and you try to form an alliance by which you gain majority. Means he will save the democracy in the time of crisis. ये powerful position नहीं है? अरे भगवान है कि नहीं है? Now, do you remember him daily? अब तो भूल ही गए होंगे, टाइम ही नहीं है. मगर the day results are to be announced, उस दिन याद आते हैं कि नहीं आते? तो पता चलता है कि पावर ऑफ गॉड. अदरवाइज डेली भी फील अच्छा हाँ चलो ठीक है, थोड़ा मजाक वजाक भी कर लेते हैं उनके अगेंस्ट. ऑन द डे ऑफ एग्जाम कैन यू अफोर्ड टू मेक अ जोक? मतलब ही नहीं है. जब ये होता है ना सर, क्राइसिस, यू अंडरस्टैंड द पावर ऑफ गॉड. ऐसे ही प्रेसिडेंट है. प्रेसिडेंट इज लाइक गॉड और नॉट सर? नॉर्मली ठीक है, ही अपीयर्स टू बी नॉट विजिबल ऑल्सो, बट व्हेन देयर विल बी अ क्राइसिस ऑन डेमोक्रेसी, देन द पर्सन हु विल सेव दिस नेशन इज द प्रेसिडेंट. तो उससे बड़ा पावरफुल ऑफिस कौन सा है कि नहीं है? सो दिस इज इट. मगर टेल मी, इज देयर ऑल्सो अ प्रोविजन इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन विच मेक्स हिम अ रबर स्टैंप और अ काइंड ऑफ नॉमिनल फिगर दिखावे की? हाँ जी आप बताओ, कौन सा वो प्रोविजन है by which you feel that he is like a rubber stamp, he is not powerful office? अभी तो लिखा है आपने आर्टिकल 74, ये लिखा है ना आपने अभी. आर्टिकल क्या है आर्टिकल 74 बताएं. आर्टिकल 74 says there will be a council of minister and president will work according to the advice of council of minister. Now when I am working and you will tell me what to work, how to work, will I be powerful? No. ये है, constitution has provisions by which president appears to be more important, but similarly, simultaneously, constitution has provisions by which he appears to be just like a puppet in the hands of council of minister. ठीक है सर, write down this. Elections of see, the mode of election and the powers may not be correlated. You may be elected indirectly, but then you may be having more powers, and vice versa. हाँ, we'll discuss that. We'll discuss that tomorrow. Write down. लिखें इसको. वो भी मर्सी पिटिशन वो खुद थोड़ी ना डिसाइड करता है. ऑन हुज एडवाइस विल ही डिसाइड ऑन द मर्सी पिटिशन? काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर. तो वो रबर स्टैम्प भी तो हो गया. राइट और रॉन्ग? लिखो. हाँ जी सर. डिसॉल्विंग of the Lok Sabha, yes, also very true, provided the government is not in majority. Yes, बहुत अच्छे. Write down. Our constitution पहले ऐसे लिखना, from the point of view of constitutional provision. We will analyze his position from the point of view of constitutional provisions. What is constitutional saying on the powers of president? संविधान क्या बोलता है उनके बारे में? Write down. Our constitution has provided elaborate executive, legislative, financial, military, diplomatic, and judicial powers. Besides discretionary powers जो वो खुद अपने मन से इस्तेमाल करते हैं. Besides discretionary powers and the right to use veto particularly pocket veto. though Article 74, though Article 74, particularly after, though Article 74, particularly after the year 1978, 44th Amendment Act के बाद, particularly after the year 1978, bound the president by the advice of COM thus explicitly bringing down his areas of discretion thus making him a kind of nominal head. Nominal मतलब दिखावेगा, nominal head write down his name also. Rao is a thinker, constitutional thinker. Rao argues sir, एक बार बताओ, you tell me this thing using the available information, no special information required. I am president and I am hell-bent on breaking the constitution. I am hell-bent to bring destruction to the country. I am hell-bent not to cooperate with the government, not to cooperate with the parliament. यहां थोड़ी सी अगर मान लो प्रॉब्लम आ जाए, can you stop me from going ahead with my evil intentions? How will you stop me? Impeachment. बहुत बढ़िया. If I become evil tomorrow, you can impeach me. मगर एक बात बताओ मुझे, to impeach me, who will impeach me? Parliament. Parliament को बैठना भी तो पड़ेगा उसके लिए. Will you not expect the house to come in session and then impeach me or not? Or even if you have a special session to impeach me, who will call the session? President. मैं तो नहीं बुलाऊंगा session. I will not call a session. What will you do? बताओ sir. Getting me or not? To impeach me, you need to have assembly of both the houses. But to assemble or to call both the houses in session, I will have to take action. And I am the president. I say no, I will not call the session. कर लो जो करना है. What will you do now? Will it not make me like a monster? Somebody who is omnipotent, उससे बड़ा तो कोई है ही नहीं. भाई है कि नहीं है? What will you do then? क्या करोगे उस टाइम पे? हाँ? 6 महीने का इंतजार. बहुत बढ़िया. और 6 महीने के बाद क्या होगा सर? सेशन अपने आप ही आ जाएगा. अरे at best you can have a gap of 6 months. Now that gap can be made either two ways. The government is not calling the session. Government बोल ही नहीं रही president को session बुलाने के लिए. ठीक है, 6 महीने बीत गए. Or other thing is that government is telling the president, sir call the session, sir call the session, and president is not taking a call. And if either of the cases 6 months elapse between the two sessions, what will happen? The session will be called automatically. So president at best can avoid impeachment for how much time? 6 months. Very good. But उन 6 महीनों में can he not bring damage? This was the intention of Rao. He said, thankfully you never had such kind of a Hitler kind of a president who has read in depth constitution. समझ रहे हो? लिखो. Rao says president has huge powers. Particularly discretionary. And if he comes to misuse those powers, the only check on this misuse is impeachment. Which can also be avoided. Which can also be avoided by him. Which can also be avoided by him by not summoning the session. By not summoning matlab calling the session. At least for 6 months. 6 महीने तक नहीं बुलाएगा. However, please write this line also. However, next paragraph. However, thanks to the maturity of our democracy, this situation has never occurred. However, thanks to the maturity of our democracy and a vigilant judiciary or a powerful judiciary, दोनों ने role play किया है, this situation has never occurred. Okay, clear sir? Means there are, अब conclusion क्या निकला? There are areas by which he appears to be powerful. However, there are also areas which makes him rubber stamp. See, what was the view of founding fathers of our constitution? The people who made the constitution, what was their intention regarding the office of president? वो क्या चाहते थे? President should be powerful or he should not be powerful. This is the argument now. Okay, sir? Who is the most prominent person? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. बताओ सर. यार जॉय अब ऐसी बातें ना किया करो. बाय गॉड. Were you there when I was explaining civil servants activism? थे आप? You were not there, so you are asking this. Judicial activism, you know this or not? Did I not explain this in this class? Civil servants activism. Judicial activism में मैंने क्या बोला था? Judiciary can innovate. Judiciary can innovate any action in the favor of saving the democracy. For 4 months, you were witness to the huge destruction brought by the inefficient or corrupt or evil president. सब देख रहे हैं. As per rules, it is written also that you cannot force him to come down until he is impeached. You cannot start a criminal case against him. You cannot start a civil case against him without giving notice. You remember this or not? Judiciary is also witness. Now, as per the rules, judiciary is bound. But then tell me, is judiciary nowadays ever bound by some rules to do something good? As such, you remember 9th schedule. 9th schedule said, क्या कहता है 9th schedule? 9th schedule says that judiciary cannot enter into these areas which are mentioned in 9th schedule. Judiciary in areas को हाथ नहीं लगाएगा, review नहीं करेगा. Did it prevent judiciary from entering into this area? No. 2006 judiciary itself said 9 schedules अब ठीक है, but we will still review this. I mean, can you prevent judiciary from taking proactive steps in the interest of this country? No. It might happen that for 4 months he will bring destruction. एकदम से somebody will file a PIL and judiciary will enter into the area, and even if he is not calling the session, judiciary might take a step by which he may be removed. तब आप रोक थोड़ी ना पाओगे सर. In the Lakshmikant it has been written that it cannot be done. No, judiciary can interpret the law innovatively. इसलिए लिखा है मैंने आपको ये word judicial activism. He was saying that how can judiciary intervene in this case if president is not calling the session, because it is a prerogative of the president to call the session. अब वो 6 महीने तक नहीं बुला रहा है, how can judiciary force him? This was questioned by him. So this was my reply on his question, that judiciary cannot be stopped from taking any innovative proactive action provided it is the interest of nation, because judiciary justify कर देगा उसको. National Green Tribunal. Okay, now if you see National Green Tribunal, it did not have the powers. Some time back NGT put a ban on the use of diesel vehicle, ठीक है ना, or it also cancelled the registration of particular vehicles having a particular capacity more than that. NGT ने उसको ban कर दिया. Now people, particularly Environment Ministry, said, who is NGT? As per the law, NGT is not authorized to take such an action because NGT cannot enter into area which are governed by Motor Vehicle Act. भाई गाड़ी को बंद करना is part of Motor Vehicle Act. How can NGT enter into this? Because the mandate of NGT does not include this. In that case, judiciary said, agreed that it is not in the area of mandate of NGT, and NGT enter into the area. But still the purpose was to provide a quality of life, to provide people clean environment. So for that, we will not stop NGT from going ahead. कर दिया ना innovatively उन्होंने interpret constitution को. You cannot stop judiciary, provided intention सही होनी चाहिए. Okay. Next. Now, what was the view of the founding fathers towards the position of president? Now, first view was given by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He wanted, I'll dictate, don't worry, just listen. He wanted the president to act like a nominal head. Okay, वो चाहते थे कि president के पास ज़्यादा power ना हो, and he should follow the footsteps of Council of Ministers. No, now you know what logic he gave? That the Indian president is only a nominal head, and the real executive powers are with Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. Can you tell me what argument must have been given by him in justifying that president is only a nominal head? क्या उन्होंने लॉजिक दिया होगा बताओ सर? बहुत बढ़िया, पार्लियामेंट्री सिस्टम. अरे ही सेड, देखो Dr. Ambedkar said, we have a parliamentary system of government. We are not presidential system. And in parliamentary system, you have two heads. One is the head of state, other is the head of government. In UK, who is the head of state? Monarch, king or queen. India में कौन है? President. Is monarch of UK having much powers? No, he is only a ceremonial head. He is a symbolic representative of the crown. And he said, since we have taken the parliamentary system from Britain, we should take this concept also, where the head of the state in India, which is the president, should be like the monarch of UK, who has no real powers. Samjhe sir? He said, since we have taken the parliamentary system from Britain, our head of the state should also be nominal head, having not much powers, like the monarch of England. And the real powers should lie with the head of the government, who is the Prime Minister, representing the Council of Ministers. This argument उन्होंने दिया. Now, another argument was given by Pandit Nehru. He said, agreed that we have taken parliamentary system from Britain. वहां से हमने लिया है parliamentary system of Britain, and in Britain the head of the state is the king, who has no powers. ठीक है. So we should have president who also should not have much powers. But then are we bound to have this correspondence? We have taken federal system from where? Britain, USA. But have we copied the federal system of Britain? No, we have brought dilutions there also. In few situations we can become unitary. So his argument was that when you have taken something from UK, you are not bound to have complete correspondence of what you have there and what we have here. We can have some changes. And if you have head of the state different from head of the government, and he is having some powers, will it not act like a check on the head of the government? तो अच्छा है हमारे लिए. Give them some powers. This was his contention. You give some powers to the president, because if you do that, he will also act like a double check on the working of government. And this makes Indian system more meaningful. Third view was, though he was not the founding father of the president of the constitution, it was also given by S. Radhakrishnan, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. He said, we have re-elections or not for the president? Re-election to hote hi hai. You have re-elections for the office of president. Will you re-elect somebody who is a robo, who works according to the advice of the council of ministers? Batao sir, who will be re-elected by you? Who is having some substance or not? Or who proved that his presence in the office made a difference to the office? Like for example, APJ Kalam, he wanted to come up for the second term. Against whom? Pratibha ji. He wanted to contest for the second time or not? Though that's a different thing that he did not get a support. But if you ask people, did you not want to see people like him to become the president? Why only him and not somebody else? Because he was active, he was vigilant while he was in office. His working was not that passive as it was in the case of previous president. It means you should give some powers to him, using which he can make a difference. And had he not been having any powers, you would not have gone to re-elect him. उन पावर्स का यूज करके ही तो परफॉर्मेंस दोगे आप. Had you not been having those powers, how will you perform? And how will you stand different from the other presidents who had been in office or who will be in office? पावर्स तो हैं, और उन पावर्स का यूज करके ही आप अपने आप को डिस्टिंक्ट बना पाओगे. ये किसने बोला? एस.वी. राधाकृष्णन. And only a president who is distinct will be eligible for re-election, and he will win the re-election. One more contention came by a former president who said, today political parties put their candidates, ये मेरा candidate है for election for presidentship. Other party will say, he is my candidate. And they will fight to get their candidates win. They will have all kind of propaganda also. Now why are you fighting to have your person elected as president if you feel that there is no power in the office? भाई power है तभी तो आप लड़ रहे हो आपस में, है कि नहीं है? This is it. ये भी एक contention है. Why are political parties fighting to have their own candidate become president? It means he must be having some powers. वो ऑफिस उतना रबर स्टैम्प नहीं जितना लगता है. This is what is my contention. Clear? दो लाइन. From the perspective of the founding fathers of the constitution. First, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. We are analyzing the position from the perspective of the founding fathers of constitution. The first perspective was given by Dr. Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar compared Indian president with the English monarch. Monarch means king or queen, whatever, who was a rubber stamp or a figurehead, who was a rubber stamp or a figurehead. He wanted Indian president. He means the Dr. Ambedkar. He wanted the Indian president to follow, aid and advise of the COM and be bounded by that. Thus making him just a nominal head. On the other hand, Pandit Nehru said, even if we follow UK parliamentary system, we may not have the precise correspondence and have an office which is not automated, that is acting like a robo. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, third view is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. ये इसी में third view लिखो. After Dr. Ambedkar and Nehru's view, third view is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. He said, can anybody tell me, can you yourself have that view which was given by Dr. Rajendra Prasad? आप राजेंद्र प्रसाद जी बन के दिखाओ. He nullified the argument that even if we have a parliamentary system modeled on the lines of Britain, then also there are some views or there are some arguments by which we can say Indian president should not be like the British monarch. तो क्या argument होगा? Think. हाँ जी बताओ. Indian president, how he can still differ from the British monarch even if we are following the British parliamentary system. और सर और बहुत बढ़िया बोला आपने. और बोलो. हाँ वो भी है. और कुछ? वेरी गुड. आज इस साइड का दिन है सर. बहुत बढ़िया. राइट डाउन. Dr. Rajendra Prasad said, UK has a unitary system. And we have a federal. Their king or queen are hereditary. Whereas Indian president comes to office through elections. तो election जीत के आते हैं. So how can you expect him to be a mute follower, बिना कुछ बोले follow करता रहे, a mute follower of the advice of COM? Dr. Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, see, these things can be used in governance also. Why I am saying so, why I have taken such an elaborate discussion on this? President तो एक दिन में खत्म हो जाता है. The reason being 2017 will be the year of presidential election. So in 2017 when you will appear for mains, this might be a potential area of questioning. If not in polity precise, it may be in governance. where they will ask you to analyze different dimensions. इसलिए मैंने आपको ये सब लिखा है arguments. When you write something, support that with some statement of a big personality or some facts or some data. ये statement है उनकी. Okay, write down. Dr. Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy said, today political parties fight, झगड़ती हैं आपस में, fight to get their president elected. It means this office must be having some powerful position and not just rubber stamp. S.V. Radhakrishnan said, the question of re-election of Indian president, makes him more powerful than a robo. Robo means who is following the command from the COM. Because only a good president, देखो कितनी अच्छी बात बोली है, because only a good president can be re-elected, and not a robo. Now, what was the view of judiciary? No need to write all these cases. I'm just telling you because I know. ठीक है सर, वहां ना भी याद आए तो कोई टेंशन नहीं है, लिख लो. Judiciary in various cases, judiciary, Supreme Court means in various cases. Ram Javaya, R.C. Cooper, Shamsher Singh case, said that we have a parliamentary system based on UK system, in which head of the state that is the president, is only a nominal head, and the real executive powers are with the COM. Though the executive decisions of the union are taken in the name of president. Under which article? 53. Very good. Are taken in the name of president, but in reality it is the decision taken by COM. whenever the constitution says, ये judiciary बोल रहा है, whenever the constitution says it is the satisfaction of the president, कहीं भी ये word आता है satisfaction of the president, whenever the constitution says it is the satisfaction of the president, then also it is not the personal satisfaction of the president, then also it is not the personal satisfaction of the president, but the satisfaction of किसका? COM, but the satisfaction of Council of Ministers. अब देखो कितनी बड़ी बात बोल दी है जुडिशरी ने. लिखो सर, you please write and you understand what you have written. You see this thing. Let's say Lok Sabha is dissolved, Lok Sabha khatam. Okay, Lok Sabha dissolved, Rajya Sabha can be dissolved? Never. Lok Sabha को dissolve कर दिया. When Lok Sabha is dissolved, PM gone, the whole Council of Ministers will go. Okay, जब यही खत्म हो गए, PM and Council of Ministers, of course PM is a part of COM, when it is gone, is there a situation when he is ruling alone? Tell me sir, will there be a situation when he will rule alone when Lok Sabha is dissolved? COM तो है नहीं. Is it actually a case that he is ruling alone? Why not? Yes, because even if, याद रखना, even if Lok Sabha is dissolved, there will always be a caretaker government. I was the PM, मैं PM था. Today I lost majority. I resigned. President साहब ने लोक सभा डिसॉल्व कर दी. New elections will take place. भाई लोक सभा डिसॉल्व तो नए इलेक्शन होंगे. Even if I resigned as Prime Minister, I will remain in office as a caretaker Prime Minister till the new Prime Minister enters the office. समझ रहे हो मेरी बात को? There will not be a day when you will not have a caretaker government in place. And he will rule alone. So ये judiciary is saying this only. When you have, even in situations when there is no regular government, even then you expect a caretaker government to be there. It means the COM is very important and president alone cannot exist in no situation. So how you expect president to be a meaningful office? You understood this point or not? Write down. Even if Lok Sabha stands dissolved, even if Lok Sabha stands dissolved, लोक सभा डिसॉल्व हो गई तो भी there shall be a COM. There shall be a COM. Brackets, caretaker. ये भी लिख लो. There shall be a COM. Please write in brackets, caretaker COM to aid and advise the president. Therefore, the president cannot exist and discharge his executive functions without a COM. Okay, अब ये तो यहां पे हो गया. Now, how did you see actual functioning of the president? Was there ever a president who asserted himself? आज तक ऐसा president आया है जिसने खुद को assert किया है? And he made the office of president meaningful, or he brought your eyes towards the office of president? बताओ सर, ऐसा कोई president आया आज तक? कभी देखा है आपने? नहीं देखा. Did they not assert themselves? Did their presence in the office not make any difference? Rajendra Prasad, you said put emergency in Kerala. He said no. Why should I murder the spirit of federalism just because you are telling me to do that? Assert कर दिया नहीं कर दिया इन्होंने अपने आप को. This is what, and many times, see, he was asked by the government, sir, put emergency in Bihar, put emergency in Uttar Pradesh. He said no, reconsider your advice. And when government reconsidered the advice to put emergency in Uttar Pradesh, they found, chalo theek hai yaar, there is no need. In fact, we will face embarrassment. He sent back the decision for reconsideration regarding emergency in Uttar Pradesh, and emergency was not imposed. He saved Uttar Pradesh government. He saved Bihar government. Understood or not? Thanks to the office of president. Had he been just a robo, he would have said, yes, let's put president rule on all the 29 states. But उन्होंने ऐसा नहीं किया. He was assertive, he was proactive, he was awakened. Dr. Pranab Mukherjee is a live example. He keeps sending advices to the parliament as well as to the government. Please be in your limits. Please do not ensure that communalism flares up. Please ensure that the time you spend in the parliament is not spent in abusing each other or just making fun of each other. It should be used constructively. APJ Kalam, he sent back the Office of Profit Bill, Representation of People Act for reconsideration, suspensive veto. These President Jail Singh, Postal Office Bill, he used pocket veto. He killed a bill single-handedly which could have taken away the freedom of press. Press is so important that it is called as the fourth pillar of Indian democracy, and he saved the fourth pillar of Indian democracy from getting destroyed. So important to hai. And these presidents, they have been called as activist presidents. They were proactive in their approach in the interest of nation. Whereas other presidents were not that assertive. ठीक है ना? क्या हो गया? Sir, they also sent back instructions to the government that the way you are implementing the reservation policy or you are trying to bring reservation policy is not in the interest of the country. They embarrassed the government on various important issues. लिखो. There have been presidents who have used the limited powers available with them to safeguard the values of the Constitution, like federalism, freedom of press, etc. Example, I hope you have written down Dr. Rajendra Prasad, 1959, he rejected this. Okay, Jail Singh, pocket veto. Okay, K.R. Narayanan, he sent the emergency in UP and Bihar. UP 1997, Bihar 1998. He sent back it for reconsideration of the government. Please think over it. K.R. Narayanan. Okay. Kalam sent back Office of Profit Bill, suspensive veto. R. Venkatraman himself said, ऐसे मत लिखो, please cut that. You understand this also. President Shankar Dayal Sharma, he was the president, and he used his office to safeguard the country in a time when there was a huge political crisis. 1996, no party came to power or no party got majority. Leave aside majority, no party was able to form alliance also. Majority तो मिली नहीं, alliance भी नहीं बन पा रहा था. In that case, first he called Atal Bihari Vajpayee. You come and you become the prime minister and you prove that people are with you in parliament. And he gave him time. However, he failed. And for 13 days, he tried to form alliance and he failed and he resigned. ठीक है ना? And let me tell you, when Shankar Dayal Sharma called Atal Bihari Vajpayee to become the prime minister, he had faith in him that he will be able to make the government, and he called him to be the prime minister even without letter of support. Letter of support means I have people signing on the paper that we are with the PM, we are with the PM. उसके बिना इन्होंने बुला लिया उनको. And he failed after 13 days. This time, using again his discretion, he called Dev Gowda ji. Sir, this time you come and you form the government because I feel you can form the government if not Mr. Vajpayee. However, before you come to the office, you bring a letter of support with you. वो लिखवा के ले आओ सर आप. And he came and he formed the government. है कि नहीं है? And who saved you during that time? President. He gave you the government. Important है कि नहीं है ये? और आप देखो, he could have misused this power also. किसी भी, he could have chosen anybody. There was no foundation on him that you have to choose somebody from the ruling largest party only. ऐसा कोई foundation नहीं थी. But then he used his office in a bona fide manner. पैसे लेके किसी और को भी तो बुलाया जा सकता था कि नहीं? He did not do that. Right now. अब आप मुझे एक बात बताओ, before you move, why is the position of president much more important using this argument in today's time? आज ऐसा क्या है कि इनकी position, president position has become even more important? Coalition government. Now we are living in an era where no party is able to have majority, and every party will have to have a coalition. And to form a coalition, जब किसी भी पार्टी को majority तो मिलती ही नहीं है, who will use discretion? President. And then also coalition do not last long. Jayalalitha pulled herself out from the coalition NDA or not? Government fell. So when you have a situation where no party is so famous among people, you have to have a responsible president. Otherwise, he may call somebody who is not worthy to be the prime minister. So in coalition era, president role has become even more important. Understanding this or not, sir? Right now. In coalition era, लिखो सर ये बाद में कर लेना. In coalition era, the office of president has become even more important as seen during the reign of reign of SD Sharma, Shankar Dayal Sharma, who invited Atal Bihari Vajpayee to form the government without a letter of support. And when he failed, again responsibly used. And when he failed, he matlab Vajpayee. And when he failed, he responsibly used. Please underline the word responsible. बहुत important है. He responsibly used his office to call Dev Gowda. GOWDA लिखना. ठीक है सर? कुछ और नहीं लिखना है. He called Dev Gowda with a letter of support. and thus gave us a stable government. अगले पैराग्राफ में लिखो, next paragraph, as far as functioning is concerned, as far as functioning is concerned, as far as his functioning is concerned, he is not a rubber stamp. As argued through the lines of R. Venkatraman, who said, Indian president is like an emergency lamp. Emergency lamp जो कब जलता है? जब लाइट जाती है, when there is no power. Okay, emergency lamp, that is in normal circumstances, he follows the advice of COM, but during emergency or delicate times like when nobody got majority, in delicate times he asserts his role and save democracy in coalition era. This role has become, in coalition era, this role has become even more important. ऑर्डिनेंस मेकिंग पावर ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट, हाँ जी बताओ, आर्टिकल क्या है? 123 एंड 213 क्या है? गवर्नर. बहुत अच्छे. सी, ऑर्डिनेंस मेकिंग पावर ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट, आर्टिकल 123. As I told you earlier also, no need to mug up each and every article, but few articles they come in exam, and this is one of them. Ordinance making power of president. ठीक है सर? सर, common sense. Ordinance making power of the president is a legislative power, or is it an executive power, or is it a judicial power? हाँ जी, एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर है, लेजिस्लेटिव पावर. लॉ मेकिंग है, but some people say executive, and in some books also it is written so. It is not an executive power, it is only legislative power. Why they say executive power, you know? Because ordinance is issued by the president on the advice of COM. अब ordinance है क्या? See, ordinance is nothing but it is a law passed by the president. ठीक है ना? Law is generally passed by whom, sir? Parliament. But to pass a law, Parliament has to be in session. Suppose when Parliament is not in session, Parliament तो session में नहीं है, and we have to have a law in emergency, then where from you will get the law? Ordinance. He will issue an ordinance, and that ordinance will be simply like law passed by the Parliament. उसकी वैल्यू उतनी होगी. The only difference between the ordinance, that is the law passed by the president, and the law passed by the Parliament, the only difference is the time period. Law will remain in place all through until it is revoked by the Parliament itself. But the ordinance has a limited life. Ordinance is in force only up to 6 weeks of the reassembly of the house. For example, today ordinance was passed. Next month, exactly after 1 month, parliament will be called up again. Session tha parliament ka, usko bulaya. Once you have assembled for the new session, after that date, within 6 weeks, you have to pass or you have to approve this ordinance or this law passed by the president. समझे sir? Any problem? अभी तक तो problem नहीं है. Ordinance will be passed by the president when one house is not in session or both the houses are not in session. One or both. By many laws will not have any meaning unless both the houses will approve it. है कि नहीं है? Money bill. Can money bill be passed if Rajya Sabha is not in session? हाँ जी बताएं. मनी बिल पास हो सकता है क्या अगर राज्यसभा सेशन में ना हो तो? नहीं होगा. Why not? अरे आंसर तो सही दिया है मगर पूरा बताओ तो सही रीजन. बहुत अच्छे. राज्यसभा कैन नॉट चेंज अ मनी बिल बट एटलीस्ट इट हैज टू कंकर विद द मनी बिल और नॉट. वो प्रोसेस में तो राज्यसभा का नाम आता है. हाउ कैन यू पास अ मनी बिल व्हेन राज्यसभा हैज नॉट एक्चुअली सीन द मनी बिल? Otherwise, what is the rationale of having Rajya Sabha? At least Rajya Sabha should give some. Why do we have people who are expert in different areas? So that Rajya Sabha can have more experience, and Rajya Sabha can pour that experience when even money bill is passed. So you cannot pass a money bill when Rajya Sabha is not in session, even if Rajya Sabha is not having a say in money bill. It has to be in the loop of passing the money bill. अभी Rajya Sabha नहीं है, so you cannot pass a money bill. Anyways, my intention was to tell you that ordinance can be passed by the president even if any house is not in session or both the houses. दोनों केसेस सर, दोनों केसेस. ये आंसर दिया है मैंने. आई एम नॉट आस्किंग अ क्वेश्चन. ओके लिखो. Ordinance making power, Article 123, ordinance making power of the president. This is very important for this time also. I hope this question will come in the mains 2016 में. Enables the smooth functioning of the government. Ordinance making power enables the smooth functioning of the government. Article 123. Smooth functioning of the government in rapidly changing environment. In rapidly changing environment. Second, it is the legislative power. Underline this thing. It is the legislative power. People make mistakes, so I am telling you to underline. It is a legislative power of the president, coextensive and coterminous, means same meaning, and coterminous with the legislative powers of parliament. समझिए आप इसका मतलब? Ordinance is just like a law passed by parliament, legislature. The only difference is time. Law passed by the parliament will remain in force, but the law passed by the president will have to be approved by parliament within 6 weeks when it sits again. Coextensive and coterminous with the legislative powers of the parliament, that is, it has same force as the act of parliament. Can ordinance be issued to make a new law? हाँ जी आप बताओ. सोचने की बात ही नहीं, ऑर्डिनेंस लॉ ही है. नया लॉ बनाने के लिए ऑर्डिनेंस इश्यू हो सकता है. कैन ऑर्डिनेंस बी यूज्ड टू अमेंड अ प्रीवियस लॉ? कैन ऑर्डिनेंस बी यूज्ड टू रिपील एन अर्ली ऑर्डिनेंस? आज एक ऑर्डिनेंस इश्यू किया, टुडे आई इशूड एन ऑर्डिनेंस एज प्रेसिडेंट. कैन डे आफ्टर आई इशू अनदर ऑर्डिनेंस which will repeal the previous ordinance? Yes, it can be used to repeal or amend a previous ordinance. अब सवाल आता है critical. Can ordinance be used to bring about a constitutional amendment? No. कहां लिखा है? लक्ष्मीकांत बताओ सर, कैन इट बी यूज्ड टू अमेंड द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन कैन ओनली बी अमेंडेड बाय हाँ जी बोलिए. नहीं, माई क्वेश्चन इज दिस, कैन ऑर्डिनेंस बी पास टू ब्रिंग एन अमेंडमेंट इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन? नहीं, वो तो अब प्री में तो यू कैनॉट एक्सप्लेन ना, यू हैव टू से यस और नो. See, this is a question which I have seen, and I will admit it frankly. Nobody actually knows that actually he can do this or not. But then if you read the constitution, they have specifically or very explicitly said that the power of ordinance is coterminous with the power of law making of the parliament, and the only difference is the time period. अगर ऐसा होता, they should have mentioned this or not. But they have not mentioned this. वो ये बोलते हैं that the ordinance making power of the president is just same as the ordinance making power of the parliament, and the only difference is the length for which the law will be on ground. The law made by the parliament will remain forever unless it is repealed by the parliament, but the ordinance will remain only for 6 weeks. कहीं ये तो लिखा नहीं है that constitutional amendment will not be allowed. So constitutional amendment can also be done through ordinance. However, as I say, ifs and buts can come in this picture. ठीक है गौरव जी, लिखें. Ordinance can be used to first issue a new law, issue a new legislation. Ordinance can be issued or can be used to first issue a new law, legislation. Second, amend or repeal already issued ordinance. अब क्वेश्चन ये आ गया, क्वेश्चन केम. अच्छा, तीसरी चीज, राइट डाउन द थर्ड थिंग ऑल्सो. थर्ड इज amend one or more provisions of the constitution. Amend one or more provisions of the constitution. By parliament is not in session, and somehow we have to give a portion of West Bengal to another country. What will you do? Will you wait for the parliament? For example, you cut short the limits of West Bengal. Will it not be a change in the constitution? तो वो तो ऑर्डिनेंस से आप करोगे ही करोगे. You will not tell the neighboring country, you wait for our session to come. है कि नहीं है? So this is the argument. Write down. Amend one or more provisions of the constitution. अब क्वेश्चन ये आ रहा है, Can ordinance have a retrospective effect? Yes. कैसे सर? Repeated ordinances, बहुत बढ़िया. अरे today I passed an ordinance. After 3 days I passed another ordinance by which I cancel this ordinance. तो retrospective हो गया कि नहीं हो गया? So question, if it comes that can an ordinance have a retrospective effect, you will say yes. Many safeguards, sorry, it can be exercised. Ordinance can be exercised when one or both the houses, ordinance can be exercised when one or both the houses of parliament are not in session and the issue requires immediate legislation. Safeguards exist with respect to ordinance making power of the president. Sir, President wants to issue an ordinance that I am satisfied that the length and the breadth of this country should be reduced. वो कर सकते हैं ordinance. वो ये चाहते हैं that India's map, difficult also, he wants it to cut short so that it can be drawn easily. बताओ, can he do that through ordinance? Boundary change कर दी? Can he do that? He is satisfied that there are grounds by which I want to give away this portion to the neighboring country. Can he do that through ordinance? This is what I contend. बहुत अच्छे, बहुत बढ़िया. He might do that. First instance पे ऐसा वो करेंगे. Instantly you will file a PIL. And on what grounds you will file a PIL? That India's sovereignty and integrity is under threat. And in that case, who will prevent him from moving ahead with the ordinance? Judicial. Matlab, judicial review will apply on the president. Moreover, when the president says in the ordinance that I am satisfied that this law should be made, then that satisfaction is not his personal satisfaction. That is the satisfaction of the Council of Ministers. Government भी की जाएगी after the judicial review. समझ रहे हो सर? Because the blame will not come on the president, that will come on the Council of Ministers. उन्होंने तो बोला था इनको ordinance issue करने के लिए. Write down. हाँ जी. सर यही तो मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ. It has not been specifically stated anywhere. But we will assume this only, that it can be done, because only difference between ordinance and law making power of parliament is time. ये साफ साफ लिखा हुआ है. Say of the state तो ठीक है. आप ये भी तो देखो, that has to be concurred by the parliament within 6 weeks. राज्य सभा will not allow that. है कि नहीं है? Next, safeguards. First, judicial review is allowed in the case of ordinance. Judicial review is allowed in the case of ordinance. Supreme Court held that the satisfaction of the president can be questioned. Next, ordinance needs to be approved by both the houses within 6 weeks. within 6 weeks of reassembly, 6 weeks of reassembly, and the last, ordinance making power of the president, ordinance making power of the president in actual is the power of COM. Ordinance making power of the president in actual is the power of COM. Any confusion, sir? Diplomatic powers, 2 lines. क्या है सर डिप्लोमेटिक पावर्स प्रेसिडेंट साहब की? He receives the ambassador from other countries and he sends the ambassadors, and he represents India also across the globe. Write down. He represents India at international forums. International treaties and agreements are signed in his name. Sends and receives ambassadors. Sends and receives ambassadors. Sends and receives ambassadors. Emergency powers. Emergency powers we will discuss when I'll take emergency specifically. Emergency powers में सिर्फ इतना लिख लो. Article 352 to 356. Sorry, 360. Under emergency powers you write Article 352 to 360. We'll take that specifically when I take emergency. Okay. Next, judicial powers. Judicial powers. Which article? बहुत अच्छे. Article 72 is about the judicial power of the president. ठीक है सर? And this article is talking about 5 specific judicial powers of the president. पहली है pardon. Pardon का मतलब क्या है सर बताओ? इधर वालों से पूछता हूँ आज इनका दिन जहां बताओ सर आज आपका दिन बुलंद है बताओ व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ पार्डन टू कैंसिल द सिर्फ डेथ सेंटेंस Understood? The word is this. I was a death convict. For example, I was charged by Supreme Court that this fellow committed a heinous crime and it is proved that he committed this crime. Means I got convicted to have committed the crime. Secondly, I was punished with death, for example. Or let's say I was punished with life. What should you get, life or death? I got punished with death. I applied for pardon to the president. President using this power under Article 72, if he pardons me, अगर वो मुझे pardon कर देते हैं, then not only my punishment will come to an end, I will also be freed from all the charges. ये convict था ही नहीं. He was an innocent man. Understood or not? Number of cases have come where the court has said that he was a convict and he should be given life term in India as well as in other countries. And later it was found that he was innocent. Only because of sufficient technology, we could not establish his innocence. If you see number of crime programs which come on TV also, not Savdhan India, they are real incidents. In one of the cases, it was said the person he was actually punished also. He spent 16 years in prison for murder of his wife. अपनी बीवी को मारने के लिए 16 साल की सजा मिली. After 16th year, when DNA technology came, it was found that actually he was not guilty. Somebody else was guilty who was having a parallel sentence in the same prison. He had killed his wife. After 16 years, he was freed from the prison thanks to the incoming of DNA technologies. समझ रहे हो मेरी बात को? Means there can be a scope of error in the judgment of even Supreme Court. Because Supreme Court will also give judgment on the basis of the evidences collected by police and also on the basis of the strength of his lawyer. Lawyer weak हुआ तो मैं फंस जाऊंगा कि नहीं फंस जाऊंगा? So there should be some scope by which I should get justice by some other body also, and that body is the president. I will file a petition to the president. President will of course consult it with the COM only, the government, and then on the basis of the report, he will pardon me or he will dismiss my petition. In case I got pardoned, not only my punishment will come to an end, all the charges which were put on me will also be removed and I will be free man. बाइज्जत बरी. ठीक है, लिखें. Pardon completely absolves. Absolves means finishes. Completely absolves an individual or offender from all the punishment and the charges. Pardon can be given in any case, whether it is a death. For example, if I was given a punishment for, let's say, 14 years in prison, then also pardon can be given. It's not that only in case of फांसी pardon is given. Even in the case of life term, pardon can be given. ठीक है ना? But in the case of death penalty, can governor also pardon you? नहीं, pardon कर सकता है कि नहीं वैसे in general? Death तो नहीं कर सकता, वैसे तो कर सकता है. Governor can also pardon you, but in the case of death penalty, if you have been handed death penalty, in that case only president can pardon you, nobody else. Okay? What I mean to say is that even governor is having some judicial powers like pardoning. We'll discuss that when we take governor. Okay, write down. Pardon completely absolves the offender from all the punishment and the charges. Second is reprieve. क्या मतलब है सर इसका? तो रेमिशन क्या होता है? मेरी जंग देखी कि नहीं देखी आपने ही बताओ. अनिल कपूर, बताओ सर देखी कि नहीं देखी? पिक्चर तो देखी है ना आपने? नहीं देखी? कोई बात नहीं. हिज फादर वॉज टू बी हैंग्ड. अनिल कपूर के पिताजी को फांसी होनी थी. हिज मदर, शी कलेक्टेड सम एविडेंस ऑल्सो एंड शी वॉज रनिंग टू द जेल विद द ऑर्डर, रुको रुको अभी इनको फांसी मत दो. By the time she could enter inside the jail, instantly he got hanged. अब आप एविडेंस लेके घूमते रहो, the person will not come back. है कि नहीं है? Had he been given some stay, he would have survived or not? He could have proved that he was innocent on the grounds of the new evidences. Reprieve है, it's a kind of a temporary stay. For example, I am to be hanged and I am to be hanged tomorrow. I will apply for reprieve. Sir, do not hang me or do not allow me to be killed by the state. Give me some time by which I can prove my case or I can collect my evidence. 16-17 साल दे दो मुझे. Let the new technology come and I will prove my innocence. ठीक है सर? लिखें. Reprieve. Reprieve is a stay on the execution of sentence. Execution of sentence for a temporary period. Respite. What is respite? Respite क्या है? Respite मतलब यहां कम क्या होगा? यहां पर सजा की वजन कम कर देंगे. देखो, you are very familiar with these things. When in movies you see these things happening, when the judge says इन्हें 10 साल की सजा बामुशक्कत दी जाती है. He has to put labor also while in prison. वहां क्या करना पड़ेगा सर? या तो चक्की पीसोगे, चक्की पुराना टर्म हो गया, और यू विल ब्रेक द स्टोन्स. कुछ काम करवाएंगे आपसे, और वो भी हैवी वाला. ठीक है सर, समझ रहे हो? गेटिंग मी और नॉट? एंड यू वर हैंडेड ओवर योर 10 years ऑफ रिगरस इंप्रिजनमेंट. रिगरस समझते हो? कठोर काम भी लिया जाएगा आपसे, और वो भी हैवी वाला. इन द मीन वाइल देर आर सम स्पेशल सर्कमस्टांसेस विच इमर्ज्ड or which were there already when the sentence was given and the case was overlooked. जज ने ये सजा देते हुए ये चीज नोट नहीं करी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, he ignored the fact that you were that time. ठीक है सर? In that case he will remove the clause of rigorous. सिर्फ 10 साल का आराम देंगे आपको, जेल में काम नहीं कराया जाएगा. Why? On special grounds. बिल्कुल. एंड ही विल एक्सरसाइज ऑल दिस पावर्स ऑन द एडवाइस ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, नॉट ऑन हिज ओन. और फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू आर अगेन गिवन रिग्रेस इम्प्रिजनमेंट, एंड इन द जेल, while being in the jail, somehow you develop mental illness. A person who is suffering mentally, he should not be made to suffer more, because that will add to his problem. भाई कोई ऑलरेडी मेंटल स्ट्रेस में है और आप उससे बोलो भाई रिग्रेस काम करो, will he not become more ill? So in that scenario, we will give him some relaxation. But that relaxation, if it coming from president, that will be called as respite. Why you reduce the weight of his punishment? You remove the word rigorous from his punishment. Why? Mental illness. Getting me not? Special grounds पे आपकी punishment का वजन कम कर देंगे. The heaviness of your. ठीक है सर? हाँ जी. any remission क्या है? मिशन की एक लाइफ होती है. यू हैव अ लाइफ ऑफ अ मिशन, यू हैव अ ड्यूरेशन ऑफ अ मिशन. मिशन ही तो है ये. रेमिशन, यू कट शॉर्ट द लाइफ ऑफ द मिशन. समझ रहे हो? रेमिशन इज अ काइंड ऑफ कंसेशन गिवन टू यू वेयर बाई the length of your punishment is reduced. यहां पर आपकी सजा की लंबाई कम कर देंगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू वर गिवन द पनिशमेंट फॉर 12 years in jail, it will be reduced to 10 years. By whom? President. Okay, write down. Respite you write down. Awarding lesser punishment. In respite you write down awarding lesser punishment on special grounds. Remission, reduction of sentence will the nature of punishment also change here? नहीं, nature of punishment वही रहेगा in remission. For example, initially you were handed over a punishment, आपको शुरू में दिया गया था 10 years rigorous imprisonment. Now for some reason it is reduced to 5 years of rigorous imprisonment. Rigorous तो अभी भी है, means the character will remain the same, only the length will get cut short in remission. वो बता रहा हूं सर, वही अगला टर्म वही है. नेचर चेंज नहीं होगा. वी विल रिमूव द हार्शनेस ऑफ द पनिशमेंट. एज आई टोल्ड यू, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वी रिमूव द रिग्रेस टर्म. रिग्रेस मीन्स यू विल बी हैविंग द सेम पनिशमेंट, यू विल रिमेन इन जेल, बट यू विल नॉट बी फोर्स टू डू द हैवी वर्क, इंटेंसिव वर्क. यस, इट विल बी सिंपल इम्प्रिजनमेंट. बिल्कुल, नेचर चेंज नहीं हुआ. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, नेचर चेंज होने का मतलब ये है, आई वॉज टू बी हैंग्ड. he converted it to life imprisonment. Getting me or not? यहाँ nature change हुआ. This is called as commutation. Write down commutation. Substituting one form of punishment. Substituting one form of punishment. Here you are changing the nature of the punishment. Commutation का मतलब ही है commutation, substituting one form of punishment. ये है फिफ्थ वाला सर. Substituting one form of punishment with another which is of lighter character. Only president can pardon death sentence. Only president can pardon death sentence. Can he give decisions in the cases of court martial also? Yes. As well as can deal with court martial cases also. As well as can deal with court martial cases also. Financial powers. Write down one more thing. In the judicial powers only, you write down one more thing. Can I seek advice from the Supreme Court? I am president. Can I ask for an advice from Supreme Court? Yes. And is Supreme Court bound to give me the reply? Yes. Supreme Court is bound to give advice, but president is not bound to accept advice. हाँ बताओ सर. हाँ वो तो ठीक है, but then is Supreme Court bound to give me advice? एक बात सुनो. But president is not a law expert. On some issue, he wants the advice of Supreme Court. Please advise me on this issue. Or we are about to bring a law. हमें कानून लेके आने वाले हैं. Please advise me technicality of this issue. For example, if government wants to reduce the age of juvenile, it will be a law or not? Now, before that law is brought, president consulted the judiciary. Should we actually go ahead with this, or will there be a problem? कानून लाने से पहले वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट से पूछ रहे हैं ये चीज, क्या हम करें ये काम? In that case, will Supreme Court be bound to give advice? In that case, Supreme Court is not bound to give an advice. In the legislative matters, if the advice is sought before the law is brought, in that case, Supreme Court is not bound to give the advice. However, if the question of advice is relating to the larger public interest, immediate public interest, or involving a larger interpretation of the Constitution, substantive interpretation of the Constitution, in that case, Supreme Court will be bound to give advice. And even if Supreme Court has given an advice, the president will not be bound to accept the advice. एक advice ही तो मांगी थी, order थोड़ी ना मांगा था. Supreme Court can ask for advice from the Supreme Court on a legal matter, whereas Supreme Court will give the advice, but the president will not be bound to accept the advice. ठीक है sir? And can I ask you one thing? Why will he actually consult the Supreme Court, if at all he consults before a law is made? Expert है तो क्या है? भाई expert, you might be an expert. You might be a lawyer, simple lawyer. President साहब जानते हैं आपको, वो आपसे भी तो पूछ सकते हैं बात. वो खोल देना बाइबल उनके सामने. बताओ सर आप. हाँ, सुप्रीम लॉ ऑफ लैंड तो सही है, मगर सुप्रीम कोर्ट से पूछने की जरूरत क्या है? इफ एट ऑल, see, he is not bound to ask for everything, but in case if he is asking, I am asking you, what might be the intention? बिल्कुल. See, government is bringing a law. Tomorrow, the same Supreme Court can struck down the law. बोलेगा no, you violated the basic structure. In that case, will it not be kind of embarrassment to the government? So it's good that beforehand you ask them. सुप्रीम कोर्ट, मिस्टर सुप्रीम कोर्ट, वी आर ब्रिंगिंग अ लॉ, ले आए क्या? In that case, Supreme Court is not bound to give an advice. But then the benefit is that if Supreme Court gives an advice, for example, Supreme Court tells the President, sir, you are about to bring a law, but this law will violate the basic structure. वो इतना बोल के छोड़ देगा, बस it is indicative enough that do not move ahead with the law, and the government will not actually implement that law, or it will not bring the law it's completely. बच जाएगी ना embarrassment. This is the basic intention. Write down. हाँ, that is subjective. Supreme Court only. Write down. President can seek advice. President can seek advice from Supreme Court. President can seek advice on Supreme Court. Sorry, from Supreme Court. President can seek advice from Supreme Court on any question of law. However, that advice is not binding on the President. Financial powers. Financial powers क्या है? हाँ जी बताओ. Whosoever looks up after writing first, he is caught. बोलो. Financial power. बहुत अच्छे. Annual financial statement is laid in the parliament. By whom? President lays the budget in the house. He causes it to be laid. वो करवाता है. Through whom? Finance minister. देखो ये word का difference हो जाता है. President will not lay the report. He will cause the report to be laid. Write down. He causes to be laid. Financial powers में लिखो. He causes to be laid. वो करवाता है. He causes to be laid before the parliament budget, which he called as annual financial statement very correctly. Before the parliament, the budget. Any other financial powers? Very good. हाँ बोलो. Contingency fund. और उससे पहले अभी आप मनी बिल बोल रहे थे ना. Tell me that also. Money bill introduced in sir राज्यसभा और लोकसभा? Only Lok Sabha. But when money bill is introduced in Lok Sabha, do you need the recommendation of the president also? Yes. ये भी तो financial powers हो गई इसकी. Write down. Money bill can be introduced in Lok Sabha. Can be introduced in Lok Sabha only on the recommendation of. Only on the recommendation of. Only on the prior recommendation of the president. Next, money can be released. Money can be released. Money can be released from contingency fund. I'll tell you this fund when I'll take up Lok Sabha. इसका मतलब क्या है? Okay. Just now you write down the term. You simply write down the term right now. I'll explain it later. Money can be released from contingency fund after the sanction of the president. After the sanction of the president. Contingency fund is a special fund. बिल्कुल sir. Write down. He constitutes finance commission after every 5 years. हर 5 साल के बाद finance commission को गठित करते हैं. Administrative powers. उससे पहले you write down military powers. Military powers. Military powers, sir. बहुत बढ़िया. President is the supreme commander of armed forces. Supreme commander of armed forces का मतलब क्या है? Will he lead them to war? Yes. He will declare war and peace. दोनों काम वो खुद करता है. Write down. President is the supreme commander of armed forces. He is only a symbolic commander. Remember this. ठीक है ना? He will not decide the strategy. Symbolic commander है वो सिर्फ. He is a supreme commander of armed forces. He declares war and peace. Declares war and peace. legislative powers. First, bill becomes an act. Bill becomes an act. Though I explained this previously also, but then you write it here also, no problem. Bills become an act after he gives his assent. Nominates the member of Rajya Sabha. How many? 12. Nominates 12 members in Rajya Sabha. And in Lok Sabha, how many? And 2 in Lok Sabha. Bahut badhiya. The batch is supreme. You just need to be sharpened, believe me. 2 in Lok Sabha. He addresses, or he may address, you write down this, he may address both the houses or individually? Very good. He may address the houses of parliament. He may address the houses of the parliament separately or jointly. साथ में या अलग अलग. Next. When does he address the parliament? After elections, when the new government is formed. By after elections, when new government will come, he will address the parliament. पहली बात. And then? Very good. First session of every year, he will address the parliament, and that addressal will be what? You know what? हर साल जब सेशन शुरू होता है, he addresses the parliament. लोकसभा राज्यसभा को दोनों एड्रेस करते हैं वो. And by his addressal, you know what he's doing? He is issuing the policies of government. In fact, when he speaks, it is the government or the council of minister which is speaking through his mouth. वो खुद नहीं बोल रहे होते. Who is speaking? The council of minister. In fact, he is just like reading the policies of government or the prospective laws which the government intends to bring. हर साल के पहले सेशन में he will address both the houses. Write down. At the commencement of the first session, at the commencement, शुरुआत, at the commencement of the first session of the parliament, at the commencement of the first session of the parliament, the president delivers an address to both houses, as well as when the new government enters the parliament. He causes certain reports. He causes certain reports. He causes certain reports and the statements. He causes certain reports and statements to be laid before parliament. कुछ reports वो रखवाते हैं parliament के आगे. For example, very good, CAG, and what else? Budget, you told me earlier. Any other thing? UPSC report. By UPSC prepares a report every year or not? And that is put in the front of parliament. Now who directs that you put the report there? COM नहीं, president. ये तो लिख रहे हो आप अभी. Write down. For example, budget. Report of Auditor General means CAG. Report of CAG. He causes to be laid before parliament. What? Budget. Report of CAG. Report of National Commission for SC ST. National Commission for Backward Classes. Finance Commission recommendations. Etc. etc. Certain bills, next line, certain bills, कुछ बिल इंट्रोड्यूस ही नहीं हो सकते पार्लियामेंट के अंदर. Certain bills cannot be introduced in parliament. Certain bills cannot be introduced in parliament without president's recommendation. Without president's recommendation कुछ बिल इंट्रोड्यूस ही नहीं हो सकते. लीव असाइड पासिंग देम. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कौन से ऐसे बिल है? मनी बिल. एनी अदर बिल? मनी बिल, फाइनेंस बिल नहीं, फाइनेंशियल बिल. आई टेल यू द डिफरेंस लेटर ऑन. ओके, मनी बिल, फाइनेंशियल बिल. थर्ड थिंग, under article 3. very good. means these three bills, they are to be, अरे बाद में लिखना, पहले सुनो. these three bills are to be passed by whom? Parliament will pass them. but before parliament passes them and you introduce them in the parliament, you require the recommendation of president. president से पूछ के आप इसको आगे बढ़ाओगे पार्लियामेंट के अंदर. ठीक है ना? राइट डाउन. लाइक मनी बिल, फाइनेंशियल बिल, और ऑल्टरेशन ऑफ boundaries of the state, or a bill to form a new state. See, let me tell you one thing. In polity, the problem is this, that information is endless. There are so many clauses with everything that if you can keep on going reading the president, it might take you 1 year itself. So somewhere you have to stop. Now this material which I have given to you, I myself have found that you can answer almost every question with this information. And if you have to have some extra information, that will come through the test series. अगर उसमें कुछ extra information आपको मिलेगी तो test series में मिलेगी. So what I mean to say is that do not run after books. These notes, along with Lakshmikant may be only few informations are extra. These notes, Lakshmikant, and do the test series religiously. Bas. Do not buy more books. Do not be under tension that your friend is knowing one fact more than what you know. समझ रहे मेरी बात को? Obviously, somebody will know something more than you, and you will know something more than him. वो मैथ्स तो कभी आएगा नहीं. But it should not create a kind of tension in you. It should not create a kind of infinity complex in you that my preparations are not as good as somebody else's. You never know that he must have got to know that you did not know this. And he prepared that question only to give you a complex. Tension लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. उसको वही पता था जो आपको नहीं पता है. But it does not mean that you are not knowing anything. In fact, you may be knowing many things which he is not knowing. So the thing to know is that you know only that is told you in the class and Lakshmikant और test series. बस ज़्यादा टेंशन मत लेना that I should learn this also. वो बुक नई आई है मार्केट के अंदर, उसको भी पी जाऊँ. No. This will create unnecessary stress in you, and this will bring down your motivation to study. Under immense pressure, under stress, you cannot give your best. Remember this. Be relaxed at mind, but be sincere. And the best way to avoid stress is moving with me in class. If I have done this today itself, President, you should have completed President by today evening. Tomorrow at best you can read Lakshmikant. Bas. वाइस प्रेसिडेंट बताओ सर कौन से पार्ट में है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के? पार्ट 3 में या पार्ट 4 में? पार्ट 5 चैप्टर बताओ जॉय. 1 के बाद 2 आता है तो 2 बोला है. चैप्टर 1 में ही है सर. चैप्टर 1 इज एग्जीक्यूटिव एंड पार्ट 5 इज यूनियन. Union executive is covered in chapter 1 of part 5, and vice president, is he part of legislature or executive or judiciary? Executive. ये मैंने लिखाया है आपको. Executive is COM plus president plus vice president plus attorney general. ठीक है ना? President we completed Now it is time of vice president, which is more or less similar like president with few changes, और वो changes पे will focus. Okay. Who is the first citizen of India? President. Second citizen, do we have? Vice president is the second citizen of India because in order of precedence, he is the second in command. President के बाद vice president का number आता है. See, from which country, on the lines of which country we have erected this office? USA. America. Is America having president office? है, यही अभी आपने लिखा है. And this office of vice president is just similar to the office of vice president in America. Reason being, what is the reason? Both are ex officio chairman of the upper house. India में upper house, see, this is Rajya Sabha, this is Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha presided over by chairman. Rajya Sabha को preside कौन करता है? Chairman. Preside means who is managing the affairs of this house. And who presides over the Lok Sabha? Speaker. Similarly, in America also, the upper house, which is called as Senate, the lower house is called as the House of Representatives. ठीक है ना? The upper house is being actually presided by chairman, who is nothing but the vice president of America. तो ये दोनों similar हुए, okay? But then there are some differences. You write down. Vice president, the second citizen of India, whose office created on the lines of office of American vice president. Elections of vice president, elections vice president. बताओ सर, in the election of president, how do you elect the president, directly or indirectly? Indirectly. And he is elected by a body which is called as electorate college. In the electoral college for the election of president, who are the members? बहुत बढ़िया. The word is this. Elected members of union legislature, मतलब लोक सभा, राज्य सभा, as well as elected MLAs, not MLCs. Some states have got legislative council also. Their members are called MLC. MLC will not take part in the election of president. Also, nominated people will not take part in the elections of president. Sirf elected MPs and elected MLAs take part in the election of president. Now here is the difference between president and vice president. What is the difference? बहुत बढ़िया. In case of vice president, all the MPs, MP ये है सर ये, in case of election of vice president, all the MPs, whether they are nominated or elected, they take part. States have no business in the elections of president. MLAs का कोई रोल नहीं है, ठीक है सर? तो I remove this MLA and all the MPs will be members in the electoral college. Understood? Means Vice President of India is not representative of states. Can you justify this discrepancy or anomaly? Why Vice President has not been made as a representative of the states? However, President is made to appear as a representative of states also. MLA participate करते हैं उनके election में. Why not these MLAs invited to participate in the elections of Vice President?
Because Vice President major work is to act as a chairperson of Rajya Sabha.
हाँ.
He acts in the president's.
Very good. The main work, the main job of Vice President is to what? He is the chairman of Rajya Sabha. उनका एक major काम है, when Rajya Sabha will meet, he will preside over the meeting and he will ensure that the work is done in Rajya Sabha. He rarely works as Vice President of India, or by that capacity he rarely works as President of India. Why for Vice President is there? Vice President is there so that if some situation President is not there, he can work as Vice President. But always, almost always, you see President of India is in office. तो उनको President का काम करने का मौका ही नहीं मिलता. And all through he works as Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Therefore, we have not invited states in the elections of Vice President. President तो दोनों का काम कर रहा है ना. President will represent the union as well as he will represent the states because वो है President. And what we are discussing right now is Vice President. And Vice President is different than President. President is representative of the union government as well as the states. However, this is not a case with Vice President. He is actually only representative of the union government. He is not representing the states. इसीलिए, therefore, in his elections, we have not invited the legislators of states. Only legislators of union. Right now. He is elected indirectly by electoral college consisting of members, brackets all, consisting of members, brackets, elected as well as nominated. दोनों लिख लो. Elected as well as nominated. Brackets closed. Consisting of members, brackets, elected as well as nominated, brackets closed, of both the houses of parliament. You write this also, otherwise later on you will forget. Unlike president, first, even nominated members participate in the election. Second, the electoral college does not include state legislators, does not include the state legislators. हाँ, उसके बाद भी यार राज्यसभा में स्टेट्स का रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं है. राज्यसभा इज अ बॉडी टू रिप्रेजेंट द स्टेट्स. समझ रहे हो, दोनों अलग अलग चीजें हैं. राज्यसभा इज अ बॉडी टू टेक केयर ऑफ द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द स्टेट्स. इट इज नॉट कंपोज्ड ऑफ एमएलएज. राज्यसभा में जो लोग बैठे हैं वो एमएलएज नहीं है स्टेट के. दे इट्स अ बॉडी क्रिएटेड टू टेक केयर ऑफ द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ स्टेट्स. Who conducts the elections of president? Election Commission of India. And who will conduct the election of vice president? Election Commission of India. Who will be the returning officer in the case of president election? हाँ जी बताइए. Who will be the returning officer in the election of president? हाँ जी सर बताओ, कंसल्ट करके बताओ, जल्दी बताओ. सेक्रेटरी जनरल ऑफ लोकसभा और राज्यसभा. सब साफ है. बताओ आज इनका दिन है. हाँ बताओ सर. सेक्रेटरी जनरल ऑफ लोकसभा और राज्यसभा, दे टेक टर्न्स. ये लिखा है मैंने आपको. The returning officer in the case of president will be the secretary general of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha rotatingly. If this time it is the secretary general of Lok Sabha which was the nominating officer, returning officer, next time it will be of the Rajya Sabha. Secretary general of Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha, is he an MP or not? Who is he? Very good. He is a senior civil servant. ठीक है सर. And who will be the nominating returning officer in the case of vice president election? Yay, Secretary General of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. They work as returning officer in the elections of president as well as vice president rotatingly. अभी एक बार एक है तो दूसरी बार दूसरा होगा, depending on the elections which are taking place. ठीक है ना? Write down this also. Elections are held on similar lines. Elections are held on similar lines as president's election. सब कुछ सेम है. As president's election, you write down first. Elections conducted by election commission. Elections conducted by election commission. Elections conducted by election commission. Through which system? Single transferable vote and proportional representation. बहुत बढ़िया. Through the system of proportional representation. Through the system of proportional representation and single transferable vote system. 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 What is proportional representation, sir? Huh? Population of states is the basis of the weightage every state will have, the say every state will have in the electoral college is in proportion to the population of the state. More is the population, more you have a say in the election of president. Sikkim has got the minimum say, UP has got maximum say. ये है proportional representation. And single transferable vote system, you very well know, there will be preferences. Some people choose to call it as preferential voting system, but we will call it the way it has been written in the constitution. ठीक है ना? Write down. Proportional representation and single transferable vote system. And election is through secret ballot or open ballot? Secret ballot. किसी को पता नहीं चलेगा किसको वोट दे दिया. Whip of the party will apply. क्या है whip? Very good. Whip of the party means a command given by the party to the voters. इसको वोट देना है, इसको नहीं देना है. But in the case of election of president as well as vice president, this command is not given to the voters. के वोट किसको देना है? You are almost free. Almost free. Why I am saying this? Because informally they get a command. And moreover, you vote through secret way. Nobody will come to know whether you voted in the favor of the person who was actually the candidate of the party. किसी को पता नहीं चलेगा, पार्टी को धोखा दे दोगे तो. ठीक है सर, यही है सीक्रेट बैलेट. व्हाट इज द कोटा सर? यू हैव टू हैव वोट्स मोर देन अ कोटा और नॉट? मोर देन 50%. क्वालिफिकेशन? क्वालिफिकेशन? बस. सी, क्वालिफिकेशन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट, पहली क्वालिफिकेशन सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया. दिस क्वालिफिकेशन इज सेम फॉर प्रेसिडेंट एंड वाइस प्रेसिडेंट. उम्र कितनी होनी चाहिए? मोर देन 35 और नॉट लेस देन 35. थर्ड क्वालिफिकेशन, टू बी प्रेसिडेंट ही शुड बी क्वालिफाइड टू बिकम द मेंबर ऑफ लोकसभा. और वाइस प्रेसिडेंट के लिए यहां चेंज है. दिस इज द पॉइंट. To be the president, you have to be qualified to become the member of Lok Sabha. But if you want to contest as vice president, you should be qualified to be the member of Rajya Sabha and not Lok Sabha. In case of president, this is Lok Sabha. Write down. Qualification: citizen of India, more than 35 years, qualified for elections as members of Rajya Sabha, and last, very good, he should not be holding, last qualification is he should not be holding any office of profit under union or state government or any local authority or any public authority. I'll explain what is office of profit separately, don't worry. However, the sitting president, please read what you're writing now. अब समझ के लिखना. However, the sitting president or the vice president of union, governor of any state, minister for union or any state, is not deemed, DEEMED, means it is not seen as, is not deemed to be holding an office of profit. He must have vacated or he must have resigned as, लिखो, he must have resigned as member of either house of parliament or state legislature if he was a member, comma, before entering the office, अब आप देखो what you wrote here. For example, sir, you are vice president of India, ठीक है? You want to contest as president of India. ये vice president हैं, ये president बनना चाहते हैं. For that he has to contest the elections. Should he resign from the post of vice president? बताओ सर. देखो सवाल ये है, if I am, let's say I am the vice president of India and I am to become or I have to contest, अभी बना नहीं हूं, I have to contest for the office of president. Am I supposed to resign before I contest? No. Why not? बिल्कुल. Because just now you wrote that vice president office is not an office of profit. तो resign करने की क्या जरूरत है? Even if I am vice president, I am holding an office which is not an office of profit as per what you wrote just now. So I need not resign before contesting the election of president. But in case I become president and I was, let's say, मैं पहले ये था. अच्छा ये बताओ, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई एम यूनियन मिनिस्टर ऑफ होम. इफ आई एम यूनियन मिनिस्टर ऑफ होम, कैन आई कंटेस्ट द इलेक्शन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट विदाउट रिजाइनिंग एज यूनियन मिनिस्टर ऑफ होम? है? डू आई नीड टू रिजाइन? नो, आई नीड नॉट रिजाइन टू कंटेस्ट द इलेक्शन. ठीक है, I contested the election as being Union Minister of Home. I won the election also. Now, am I expected to resign? Yes. Contest करने के लिए, you may be any of them. You are free. But in case you won, you have to resign and then take up. एक साथ दो ऑफिस थोड़ी ना ले सकते हो. Understood or not? This is what I mean to say. अब problem ये है, why some people believe that you have to resign before you contest the election of president as vice president. Means if you are a vice president and you want to contest as president, you should resign. काफी लोगों को ऐसा लगता है because of my experience which I see in every batch. Now you know why they are confused. It is because of one person. उन्होंने थोड़ी सी trouble पैदा करी. He resigned as vice president. He was acting president of India at that time when he wanted to contest as the president of India. Zakir Hussain Saab expired in office. He was the president of India or not? Zakir Hussain. Now he was, Dr. V.V. Giri was the vice president then. So he took up as acting president. V.V. Giri acting president ban gaye. After that, becoming acting president, he decided I should contest the election of president also. Can he contest the election of president while being president himself? Yes. ये आपने लिखा है कि नहीं लिखा है? Sitting president is not an office of profit. तो वो भी contest कर सकता है, contest कर सकता है. Moreover, president can be re-elected any number of times. तो contest तो ये कर ही सकते थे. Now the question is, why did he resign? As such, he was not expected to resign क्योंकि vice president is not an office of profit. So he could have continued as being vice president and contest the election also. Resign इसलिए किया because actually he had some ego clash with the Congress party. Initially when he became the vice president, he became the vice president on the ticket of Congress. But Congress was not supporting his candidature to be the president. ये नाराज हो गए. इन्होंने बोला you do not support me, कोई बात नहीं. I will become the president even without your support. देखो. He resigned as vice president in a kind of a protest कि भाई मैं वो पोस्ट छोड़ता हूं जिसको तुम्हारी वजह से मेरे को मिली थी. I became vice president because of you, so I leave that post. पहली बात तो पोस्ट इसलिए छोड़ी थी. He wanted to give an answer to Congress party who did not support his candidature to become the president. After that, he contested the election of president as independent candidate and he won. Though second round of voting took place. And that was the only time we had second round of voting taking place, 1969. ठीक है sir? So this was it. Bottom line ये है that you are not supposed to resign from the office of vice president or minister of in union or states if you want to contest as president or you want to contest as vice president, because none of these offices are office of profit. However, if you have actually won the election, अगर election जीत चुके हो, तब आपको रिजाइन करना पड़ेगा एज मेंबर ऑफ दीज हाउसेस, यूनियन में या फिर स्टेट के अंदर. टेंशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. वट एवर यू अंडरस्टूड यू राइट डाउन एंड प्लीज रीड दैट टुडे इटसेल्फ एट होम. सब क्लियर हो जाएगा. नेक्स्ट, नॉमिनेशन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट कैंडिडेट sorry, nomination of vice president candidate. Why some people appear to be lost is because they did not read president. Revise करके नहीं आए, इसलिए माइंड में टेंशन सी हो रही है. No problem. See, nomination paper of president is supported by how many people? 50 and seconded by 50. Means 50 will propose and 50 will support. Nomination paper of vice president proposed by 20 and supported by 20. ये difference है. Write down. Nomination paper of vice president या nomination लिख लो. Nomination of vice president candidate. Nomination of vice presidential candidate. Nomination of vice presidential candidate is proposed by 20 electors. Nomination of vice presidential candidate is proposed by 20 electors. Can MLAs be those electors? No. बहुत बढ़िया. And seconded by another 20. And seconded by another 20. 20. Oath कौन कराता है? President. और president को? CJI. If CJI is not there, who will administer the oath? बहुत बढ़िया sir. Write down. Oath administered by the president. Oath to vice president is administered by president or some person or some other person appointed on his behalf by him. Next is the length in office. कितने टाइम तक रहते हैं ऑफिस में? What is the duration of the president's office? 5 years. Vice president hold office. Vice president holds office for 5 years. Vice president holds office for 5 years and he can resign by handing over the resignation to president. बहुत बढ़िया. अच्छा, vice president will give his resignation to president और president will give his resignation to vice president. ठीक है ना? यहां CGI मत लिखना. Write down. By addressing his resignation to president, he can resign by addressing the resignation to president. 5 साल के लिए होता है सर president. Can he be removed before 5 years? Yes. And the proposal to remove him, resolution to remove him can be brought in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha or both. अच्छा रुको. The resolution to remove the president, can be introduced in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha? Both. President को हटाने के लिए you can have resolution coming up in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. That's a different case. However, in case of president, the resolution to remove him can only be brought in Rajya Sabha. Because vice president is an officer of Rajya Sabha. ठीक है ना? Write down. हाँ जी. वीवी ग्रीन ने सवाल बहुत अच्छा है. वीवी ग्रीन ने किनको रेजिग्नेशन दिया था? He actually addressed the resignation to President of India. Okay, but then to whom it was handed over, that will be checked and told to you. वो बता दूंगा मैं आपको. बहुत genuine सी बात है because he himself was acting president that point of time. But let me tell you, he was not the president of India. He was only the acting president. Okay, still basically he was a vice president only. है कि नहीं है? He can be removed from office. He can be removed from office before 5 years by resolution of Rajya Sabha. By resolution of Rajya Sabha. Actually, sometimes in polity, there are some situations to which even constitution or the experts in this area will have no answer, because those situations were never seen by the constitution makers. Now, if these situations are encountered, judiciary then and there will find an answer. For example, तभी तो बोलते हैं the disputes regarding the election of president and vice president is handled by whom? Supreme Court. Ab disputes, why are they handled by Supreme Court? You know, so that if there is a dispute which is novel in nature, there is a dispute which was never seen in the constitution existing, or it was not a condition which was seen by the constitution maker, then judiciary can use its active mind proactively and find a solution. क्योंकि उसका आंसर दिया नहीं हुआ है कहीं पे भी. Judiciary then and there will interpret the constitution, give an answer, and number of time it has happened. For example, if I put a question to you, is Aadhaar bill a money bill or not? You don't have an answer. It is only the way you interpret the constitution. Some people say no, Aadhaar bill is not a money bill. How can it be a money bill? Some other prove it's a money bill. समझ रहे हो? Something can be open to interpretation. Some things are fixed. For example, what is the duration of the office of president? उसमें कोई change नहीं है, 5 साल. Write down. He can be removed from office before 5 years by a resolution of Rajya Sabha passed by which majority? Answer is this. But what is the difference? You understand this? देखो, because I am saying this because many people are confused. Absolute majority and simple majority. What is the difference? Okay. Absolute majority का मतलब ये है लोकसभा की क्या है स्ट्रेंथ? राज्यसभा if I say absolute majority, it means more than 50% of ठीक है, मतलब if I am talking about absolute majority of Lok Sabha, don't write, first listen. If I am saying absolute majority Lok Sabha, इसका मतलब ये है more than 50% of 545 means more than 50% of the total strength of the house. अब गोविंदा जी थे, गोविंदा जी was part of Rajya Sabha, but was he coming to Rajya Sabha? Mostly he was not, busy रहते थे. तो though he was theoretically a part of Rajya Sabha, he was not present most of the times. मगर हमें उससे कोई मतलब नहीं है वो आए हैं नहीं आए हैं. Absolute majority का मतलब है more than 50% of the total strength of the house. Now whether all the members are present or not, that's not our concern. ठीक है सर? Simple majority means more than 50% of present and voting. For example, just now we have a voting. अभी voting करा देते हैं. Now all the seats are not filled. Some people did not come. Some people came, but right now they are in washroom. When voting took place, we will only consider the people who were there and they were voting also. It does not matter whether you registered attendance. आप voting में भी होने चाहिए. So more than 50% of the present and voting strength is called as simple majority. You understood? For example, I take an example. Let's today Lok Sabha voting is taking place and that voting is to be passed through simple majority. आज के दिन लोक सभा में कितने लोग आए सर? कितने भी आ सकते हैं, हाइपोथेटिकल है. जैसे कि लेट्स से टुडे ओनली 475 पीपल केम. टुडे इन लोक सभा लेट्स से 475 पीपल केम एंड आउट ऑफ 475 5 वर बिजी रोमिंग अराउंड. तो कितने रह गए? 470. तो इफ आई एम सेइंग सिंपल मेजॉरिटी, इसका मतलब है 50% ऑफ 470. ये है सिंपल मेजॉरिटी. एंड एब्सोल्यूट मेजॉरिटी मींस वी आर नॉट कंसर्न वेदर एवरीबॉडी केम और नॉट. We will have more than 50% of the total strength of the house. Understood? और यहां के केस में क्या है? एब्सोल्यूट है सर. यार इंडिविजुअली होती है मेजोरिटी, जॉइंट सीटिंग थोड़ी ना मैं बोल रहा हूं. जॉइंट जॉइंट हाँ बिल्कुल. राइट डाउन. He can be removed from office before 5 years by a resolution of Rajya Sabha passed by absolute majority. See, it is not 2/3 now. In case of presidential impeachment, what was the majority? 2/3? Total membership or present and voting? Total membership. याद रखना है इस बात को. 2/3 of the total membership. बट यहां वो नहीं है. In case of vice president, how much strength is required to remove him? More than 50% of total strength. That total strength in case of Rajya Sabha is 245 and Lok Sabha is 545. Getting this or is it becoming heavy for you? Easy तो है, इसमें कुछ है ही नहीं complicated. Write down. Passed by absolute majority. इसको भी लिख लो. That is the total. That is the majority of. That is the majority of total members of the house. And then passed by Lok Sabha also. However, before introduction, in Rajya Sabha, means before we introduce this, in which house resolution to remove vice president can be brought? Rajya Sabha. Can we bring, sir आप बताओ, can we bring resolution to remove vice president in Lok Sabha? Yes or no? अरे सोचने की बात ही नहीं है, यही तो मैं बार बार बोल रहा हूं. The resolution to remove the vice president can only be brought in Rajya Sabha, whereas the resolution to remove president can be brought in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. However, before introduction of the resolution in Rajya Sabha, he must be served a 14 days notice. 14 दिन का नोटिस देना पड़ेगा उनको. On what grounds we can impeach the president? Very good. President can be impeached on the grounds of violation of constitution. In case of vice president, what are the grounds? In case of vice president, constitution did not give any ground. It is up to the wisdom of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha that they fit an action of vice president fit enough for his removal. Constitution ने कुछ नहीं बताया कि किस grounds पे उसको हटा सकते हैं हम लोग. But in case of president, they have mentioned it. ठीक है sir? Write down. Same majority. Absolute. Yes. There cannot be disparity. Write down. Constitution did not mention any grounds for the removal of vice president.